This is the fourth Doctor Anthology, published by Panini Comics. The stories in this collection were originally published in Doctor Who magazine between 1979 and 1981. They have since been reprinted a number of times, but this is the first time I've read any of them. So let's have a look inside. This is the contents page. There's no interviews or behind the scenes extras, it's just the comics. First up is Doctor Who and the Iron Legion. This is written by Pat Mills and John Wagner, who are best known for their work on 2000 AD. And this story does have a very 2000 AD feel to it. It originally came out in 8 weekly instalments of 4 or 5 pages each, all ending in a cliffhanger. And like Judge Dredd, there's plenty of satirical commentary on contemporary culture, and also lots of annoying comic relief robots. The artwork is by Dave Gibbons, who does the art for most of these stories in this collection, and is probably the main reason for buying it. It's excellent throughout, with beautifully drawn creatures, and lots of detail in the action scenes. Next up is City of the Damned, from the same creative team. This is set in a dystopian planet where emotions are forbidden, and may possibly have inspired the Happiness Patrol from Sylvester McCoy's era. There's more intricate action scenes, but also more one-dimensional comic relief characters, so it's basically more of the same. Time Slip, on the other hand, feels very different. It's by Des Skin and Paul Neary, and it's a short tale set entirely on board the TARDIS. Suddenly K9 is here, and Romana is mentioned as well, so it feels a lot more like the show than the first 2 stories did. There's some interesting experimental artwork, and the Doctor ends up degenerating back into William Hartnell. It's short and sweet, but definitely one of my favourites. Doctor Who and the Star Beast is by the regular creative team again, but this is the best one they've done so far. It's the first story set on Earth, which makes a nice change. 2 school kids investigate a crashed spaceship and find the impossibly cute Beat the Beep, while the Doctor is captured by the Warth Warriors. The aliens are beautifully designed, and there's a few good twists along the way, which I'm not going to spoil, as this story has been adapted for the next episode of the TV show. It'll be interesting to see just how faithful an adaptation it is. I'm guessing the characters of Sharon and Fudge won't make it to the screen, but you never know. Speaking of Sharon, she becomes the 4th Doctor's companion for the next few stories. She's a black teenage girl who says blimey a lot, which is about the extent of her characterisation, but at least it's more than Andrew got. She continues on into the Dogs of Doom, the final story by Wagner and Mills. This has some quite scary scenes with werewolves ripping apart human flesh, and the Doctor briefly turns into one himself. There's also the usual annoying comic relief character, this time a trucker who only speaks in CB radio language. And halfway through, the Daleks show up, which is a big surprise. And the second half of the story is an absolute triumph, so it ends their run on a high. The Time Witch introduces Steve Moore as the new regular writer. Instantly, there's a move away from SF robots and aliens, and it's a more fantasy-based story, with a sexy witch controlling the world of dreams. Sharon gets a new hairstyle, and is also aged up by 4 years. It makes no difference to her personality, but it does allow the artist to draw her with curves. Next up is Dragon's Claws, set in China in 1522. You can imagine the old writing team would have put in lots of jokes about Chinese restaurants, but this is a fairly straightforward portrayal. And there's another surprise villain reveal. This time it's the Centaurans. I'm sorry if I'm giving away all the twists, but if it didn't, then it would look like there were no aliens from the show in the book at all. The instalments range from 3 to 10 pages, so presumably this was around the time the magazine went monthly. The Collector is a one-off story, where the Doctor is abducted into an alien zoo, and in order to escape he has to go back in time and punch his past self in the face, which feels wrong on several levels. Dreamers of Death is set on a planet where shared dreams turn into nightmares. It's Sharon's last story, so she falls in love with extreme haste and decides to stay behind at the end. She was a good idea for a character, but she didn't really add much, so I can't really say she'll be missed. The Lifebringer is next, a bizarre mythological adventure in which the Doctor meets the actual Greek gods. There's no scientific explanation for any of it, but it does make a nice change. War of the Words has two alien races fighting over a giant library planet, and the Doctor has to use all his cunning to stop the war. You can't help wondering if the setting may have inspired Silence in the Library at all. Spider God is a morality tale, as a group of militaristic surveyors jump to the wrong conclusion about an alien planet. It's a simple story, but quite effective. The Deal introduces a new writer, Steve Parkhouse. It's not a great start, just another story where the Doctor finds himself in the middle of a big sci-fi war. There's lots of explosions, but not much plot. End of the Line is a grim 2000 AD style story, set in a grim industrial city, in which cannibals roam the subways. And again, it has a very bleak ending. The Freefall Warriors sees the Doctor joining a stunt racing team in order to help them destroy alien raiders. There's lots of big space battles, but it does feel rather out of character for the Doctor, and it feels like the writers just introducing the characters so they can have their own spin-off. Junkyard Demon has two new artists, Mike McBarn and Adolfo Buglia. There's some elaborate drawings of spaceships and robots, and we also get some Cybermen as well. The Doctor doesn't look quite right though, which makes you appreciate just how well Dave Gibbons draws him. Finally, there's the Neutron Knights. This is a very strange story, where the Doctor is summoned by Merlin to a post-apocalyptic Earth to evacuate King Arthur's army before everything blows up. It's not clear how much of this is real, but I'm pretty sure this is just a prequel to the Fifth Doctor story, The Tides of Time. So maybe this will make more sense once I've read that. So overall, it's a fine collection. Maybe a bit too expensive, given that it's all in black and white with no extras. But the paper quality is excellent, and it all looks fantastic. Full of spectacular landscapes, massive spaceships, and beautifully designed creatures that you would never see on screen. The stories themselves are of variable quality, but the Doctor always feels like the same familiar character you've seen on screen, and the occasional appearance by familiar aliens is always welcome. I don't know if this is just the first volume of a series of reprints, but if it is, I will certainly be interested in carrying on to find out what adventures the next few Doctors got up to in the pages of the comics. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to see all my reviews of the newest Doctor Who stories as they are aired, and also all of the old stories as I get around to them. See you next time.